Welcome back to Just Blazor Programming. Better late than never, I know it's been a while. Anyways, today we're going to be discussing .NET 7, specifically how it impacts Blazor. Now, right now you have .NET 6, and you can continue using .NET 6 for a while now. Don't worry, I will talk about the support things in a moment. But you can get .NET 7. It is available for download, and you can use it in production for some of the new features it has, including stuff for .NET MAUI. I'm not going to cover that today. I'm going to make its own video for that. And in fact, that'll be a pattern in this video because there's actually a lot to cover, which is a good thing. However, there are some not so good things about .NET 7 that we should really get into before you download and decide that's going to be the next the next .NET 7 version you want to use for your particular project. And I'll get into my final thoughts and all that. You know how I do these videos. So let's get into it. So what exactly are we going to go over today? We're going to go over some of the .NET 7 features that Blazor is going to have, or at least Blazor has now because .NET 7 is out. However, I'm not going to go into too much detail into these. The reason why is because I think that a lot of them deserve their own videos. However, I will go over some of them, like you'll see me actually like open up the empty template and go over the binding enhancements. However, when we get into the binding enhancements, you'll see what I mean. Anyways, if you look at this graph here, this is actually from this video. This video is the Blazor.NET 7 conference, and essentially everything that you see here was added into .NET 7. And if you don't believe me, we can just go to Daniel Roth, who wrote this blog detailing the information for Blazor specifically. And this is basically what's on the graph there, except the graph has a little bit more stuff, but don't worry, we'll go over it now. So in our case, also, before I get started, all the information here I'm going to have in the description below if you're interested in reading it yourself or watching that video that I got this from. So again, I got it from here. Anyways, let's talk about the features in Blazor. So Blazor is going to come with a few different things. So it doesn't matter. So the top one basically means that it doesn't matter if it's Blazor server or Blazor WebAssembly. They'll have access to these new features. And the bottom one is just for WebAssembly, as you can see, WebAssembly specific. So custom elements. What is a custom element? The gist of it is that it's Blazor code that can be run in a non-Blazor framework. So you can run Blazor code within an Angular or React app, or you could run it in something like WordPress, which is the example they show down here. Now, I want to do this in its own video, so I can actually show you how to do this and why you'd want to do it. This video down here shows a few examples, like really quick examples, but they don't go into it. And I feel that, my channel is basically trying to teach you stuff, trying to actually show you how to do the things more than just trying to show you it. But that's the gist of that. Location changing, basically, it allows you to location changing and navigation lock essentially allows you to do more with navigation. So they work kind of together. So you can consider them these two the same kind of thing. Basically, they allow you to detect the navigation of a page, and then navigation lock allows you to stop someone from navigating out of the page without going through the extra process of adding any code. Like there would be some, like Blazor was not really good at handling this before. You would have to do some extra work to get the effect of, let's say they're writing a form and then they stopped writing the form, they didn't save anything, they were going to navigate off the page and lose the information there. You could now, with this feature, directly add like a one-line piece of code that allows you to tell them, hey, listen, don't move off the page yet, please just don't move off the page, please save your work, whatever it is. It might sound like a small thing, but it's actually really convenient to have, especially because I believe that a lot of web application developers will always have this, will want to have this kind of feature, and then you're just rewriting the same thing over and over again. It's really easy to do in JavaScript, but when it comes to doing it in like C# and stuff, or with Blazor specifically, it is a little bit weirder. So there were different solutions that came up that either we use a JS interrupt or we use like this really. There's a kind of an annoying method of getting to the same position. So having it built in and just having it there as like a one-line code is really nice to have. So it's basically quality of life. Bind enhancements. Bind enhancements, basically they've added new bindings So when you see in the inputs, they have the bind, bind event, bind this, bind that. Now they added more modifiers. So you have after get set. I'll go over that in a moment. But just know that they added this. Uh, what else we have here? History state. So this means that this is I believe this is now the Blazor solution to having built-in state, if I'm not correct. So instead of doing the state management like how I would do it, they have another way of doing it, which looks like it's easier. And you have the quick grid here. Quick grid is basically this Blazor team built out a grid. So now you can just have a grid without going off to find a third party to fulfill a grid. So to get a grid, which is pretty nice to have, because if you have been working in as a web app developer, grids are really important to have. A lot of places use grids for a lot of different things, and making a grid that has like sorting and all that stuff and having all the features that you're used to having is actually not that easy to do it from scratch. And now we go to the WebAssembly stuff. Most of this, like these four things here, are just optimization. So I'm not really gonna go over them too much. These two are actually in .NET 7, while this one is in alpha. So I'm not really gonna go to it's multi-threading. Multi-threading, I believe in this case, is for the browser. So now allows the browser to do some form of multi-threading, if I'm not correct. This is something that Node.js had for a long time. So I think this is the Blazor Blazor trying to catch up to that. So that's a good thing. Loading progress. So you're gonna see that when I run a project, there's gonna be like a loading bar that now is in the project. You don't have to go or loading like a progress bar or whatever that is already built in, and you can just follow the Blazor conventions to create your own or customize it. And then dynamic authorization. This is gonna be it's a little bit different than the static one. Static authorization is what you're probably used to. That's the identity server stuff. Dynamic authorization is a little bit different. I think this requires its own video. In fact, a lot of these should be their own videos. Maybe not navigation, not location changing. I think that's pretty easy, but I'm sure there's more to it. So I'm pretty sure they added, like, especially with the bind enhancements, they probably added some stuff to it. But I'm gonna go over the bind enhancements at the very minimum. So in this video, the whole point of it is to try to go over whether or not you should have .NET 7 downloaded for your next project or for your current project and migrate up to it. So we will get to that question in a moment. However, I'm going to go over the bind enhancements real quick. And the bind enhancements, let's see, where is it? Oh. Right here. So the bind enhancements, basically, if you have your input, you put, bind whatever the value, and now you have three other, or in this case, they sampled three more modifiers. So the modifiers being bind after, bind get, bind set. So we're just gonna do the easy one here. And I already have this open. I already deleted it. This is just a counter page of a .NET 7 project. Essentially now .NET 7 is in standard support, so it's no longer in preview. So it is production ready, according to them. So let's just do that. Like, oh no, maybe I just didn't write the maybe it's incorrect because I don't have the value set. So hopefully that solves the problem, right? Right? So I'm literally just copying and pasting the code that's here. And I'm doing this because I want to show you something. Ain't that interesting? I copied and pasted the code directly from Microsoft's site, put it in the IDE. Now, I don't know what's going on here. Sorry about that. I actually didn't put in the add code part. That was my problem. That's my fault. But as you can see, we still have the error. And it says cannot convert, whatever the Microsoft string is, event callback to an action string. So ain't that interesting that I copy pasted it directly from Microsoft correctly this time? And now we have a problem. But don't worry, this problem is known. And basically it says that they know that this is an issue. This is the exact same problem we've been having. Cannot convert the event callback to something else. And that they will be fixing it in 7.0.1. That's when they'll be fixing this particular error. So if you were looking forward to using those new event bindings, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a little bit. And that kind of sucks for that. So at least when it comes to the binding enhancements, I cannot make a video on it, and I can't really show you more on it. But we can go through the other ones, easy peasy. These are to be used in the inform, so I might just make a video on that. Empty template is actually probably the easiest one here. Custom elements is its own project. You know, you have to build 2 projects to really show off this one. Loading progress, we can actually show it off here. I'll just be showing it off real quick. Show you what that means. There it is. That's basically what it is. It loads, and then you know, it's gonna load up on my computer here. So they now have a nice built-in progress bar. I'm just gonna show you real quickly what the video basically pointed out. The most important thing you should know is in app.css. For this particular loading bar, you go down here. You see all the stuff that says loading. And the way you would actually control it, or the way that you can actually get information of how much you need to load, getting that load percentage, is through these like CSS functions. I'm not really sure what they're called. If you know what they are called, let me know, because I'm not really a CSS person. But that is what you want to look for, and this is how you would control it. So this is how you control the percentages. This is how you would control, you know, how you would get information for you to use it in your CSS so it can be shown. That's how the loading progress works. And dynamic authorization, again, is another thing that is completely different. It's different than static authorization. It's a more in-depth topic to get into. So basically, I like these features because some of these features did come from the community. So that means that Blazor, or at least Blazor team, Microsoft, is listening. Empty template was something that looks like this. So if you go to Visual Studio 2022, I'll just make a new one here. And you can have an empty template of either a server project or a WebAssembly one. If you go do the WebAssembly one, it will give you the option to use the ASP.NET hosted stuff, but it will just look basically like the WebAssembly projects, except it will just be, you won't have all the glitz and glamour and all the other extra stuff that goes into it. So in order for me to really showcase it, I'm gonna make a Blazor server one because it only has one project. Oh wait, no, let me go back. That's the wrong one. There it is. Blazor server app empty, Blazor WebAssembly empty. So we'll just make that one. That's fine. And as you can see, when you create a new Blazor project, it will give you the framework, you know, the choice of framework you want. So now .NET 7 has moved from preview to standard term support, so it is actually, you know, production ready. And then after this, I think I will go over whether or not you should actually download .NET 7, which I think is the most important thing, that most important question we should ask for. And also, if you don't know, I do have a Blazor cheat sheet that talks about all these, all like the easy Blazor references you can have, so you don't have to always go to Microsoft.com to get them. So, you know, just a plug real quick. So this is all you get for an empty Blazor project. Not much here. There's no bootstrap. It's just, you know, whatever the site CSS is very little here. Basically, what they said is that this is just the bare bones project, the bare minimum you need to make Blazor run. So if you run it, you're just going to see an empty page that says hello world. And so there's none of that extra, you know, navigation bars and all that stuff. There's nothing. It's basically just, it's going to say hello world. That's it. None more than that. And apparently the community really wanted this because, you know, they wanted to rip out all that extra stuff and just start fresh. And if that is you, then congratulations. Now you have a brand new way in either Blazor WebAssembly or Blazor Server to actually do that. So that is good. They are listening to the community, which I think is one of the biggest takeaways from this. Also, navigation lock and location changing was something the community was asking for a very long time. They wanted an easy way of being able to detect page changes or changes from navigation changes, or trying to stop the user from navigating out of that page, you know, in order to keep state or to make sure that they save their progress or whatever. Loading progress is now a pretty cool thing. Actually, no, loading progress is probably something else because WebAssembly specific, but you did see that the actual loading progress bar is there. So now let's go over a little bit of the differences between .NET 7 and .NET 6 and whether or not you want to upgrade to them. So the first thing I want to point out is if you download .NET 7 from like a .NET 6 project or from an older project, you will have to make sure that any libraries within that .NET 7 project, or the new project that you're going to migrate out of, does not have anything that does not support 4.62, .NET 6, or 2.0. So basically, if you have libraries and packages that do not support these frameworks at the very minimum, then .NET 7 is not going to work for you. .NET 6 will work on those projects, those older projects, but .NET 7 will not. So that is one thing to keep in mind if you want to move into .NET 7 to use these new features. Are you going to be breaking your libraries to do so? And you have to make sure that you don't. Obviously, you want your thing to work at the end of the day. Also, back to the binding. I know I'm jumping around here, but back to this binding enhancements thing. All the other binding stuff works. So the original like binding modifiers, those work correctly. They don't break or anything. It's just the new ones that don't work right now. Now I want to go to Pango right here. So another thing to keep in mind is support. So right now there's a difference between .NET 6 and .NET 7. One of them is in the long-term support, so that's .NET 6. .NET 6 came out in 2021, so it has 3 years before they stop supporting it. While .NET 7 has 2 years, I believe, from now to May 14, 2024, while .NET 6 has up until November 12th, 2024. So if those 6 months more or less don't that 6 month extra coverage you need, let's say, and you don't want to worry about upgrading again, you have like some more time, then maybe sticking to .NET 6 is good for you. If not, then maybe go to .NET 7, as long as you have the package issue dealt with. And as a side note, if you guys are still using .NET Core 3.1, I suggest you start moving out of it, because in 2 weeks it's over. .NET 3.1 and lower probably are all gonna end of support. So if you have like a production ready product that works on this, then you're gonna have to upgrade if you want to keep on having Microsoft support. So that is another thing I wanted to bring up. So .NET 7 again will go end of support faster than .NET 6. And as apart from that, and really apart from that, it's just a question of whether or not you really need .NET 7 features for your product. Like, you don't have to have .NET 7 to make your projects. .NET 6 has a lot of the features. Like, yes, .NET 7 is more optimized than .NET 6, but it does come with a lot of caveats, including the fact that it's not as compatible with older packages that don't support .NET 6 and above, and also the support isn't as long. So apart from the binding enhancements being broken, there's not really else. Unless there's a real specific reason why you want the navigation lock and other things, maybe it's best to keep it as .NET 6, because regardless, you still need to move into .NET 6. If you're anything below, like if you're .NET 5 or whatever, that's fine. But like, I do highly recommend, if you're below .NET 6, to get into .NET 6, because that will be the longest supported framework version that Microsoft is gonna have when it comes to this. So I do recommend that. Going to .NET 7 is more of a choice, and this is how I would break it down. If you really want to have access to dynamic authorization for WebAssembly projects, if you really want to have that custom elements because you have a use case for having Blazor code within the actual the other different framework, and essentially, if you just want this empty template, because you're starting this new project, let's say, then maybe going to .NET 7 is pretty good. I say that if you are starting a new project, and .NET 7 is not a bad choice. You do get access to a lot of stuff. They're gonna fix the binding enhancements soon, but the old ones still work, and you do get all the optimizations that is hard to measure and see, really, because milliseconds, we can't really see it too well, but you can measure it out. So other stuff about Blazor .NET 7 is the size is still the same from before, so there's no real difference in size when it comes to the actual Blazor projects. So that has not really changed. You still have the reloading problem. Like, it's still gonna, if you have a WebAssembly app, it's still gonna take some time for it to load up. They have optimized it more according to them, so it's a little bit faster. But you still have the WebAssembly problem of loading. So of the initial load issue. It's not as I think they did optimize it more than .NET 6, but I don't know if you're gonna really see a difference. If you were just a user, you'll still see it being something that takes a little bit of time to load. So you still might need to either implement your loading bar, or you need to implement the pre-rendering stuff, which I did make a video on. So apart from all of that, the question really is, again, if you have any interest in using the new features, if you're building a brand new project and you want to implement the new features and new optimizations, and if your project, the older one that you're probably migrating off of, does not have any libraries that affect the actual, or any older libraries that do not work with .NET 6 or above. So if you have that issue, then perhaps remaining on .NET 6 is better. If you don't have that problem, then you can decide whether or not the .NET 7 features that they bring is enough for you. Now, this is just for Blazor, Blazor plain. There's stuff for .NET MAUI as well. I believe .NET MAUI is now general use, so it's no longer in preview anymore. But that's going to be its own video as well. So there is actually a lot that came out here. I'm sorry I couldn't show you a lot of it. However, a lot of these features are really nice to have. I do like the fact that they have listened to the community. I like the fact that now they've made it a little bit easier to deal with forms. They have their own quick grid, but it's a preview, whatever. This is an interesting one. They actually worked on custom elements to allow you to have Blazor code, or Blazor code be converted to HTML, and then that being something that works in a different framework. I'm not really sure. And then we have something called dynamic authorization, which I'll get into a different time. But .NET 7, not so bad. I still want to see more though. I think that there's still a bit of a gap between Blazor and like other more established frameworks out there. But this is a step in the right direction. Definitely listening to the community, Netflix Plus. Definitely adding more stuff that they wanted, since they wanted these three things here. And then you have, they're doing other things like the quick grid. .NET MAUI is improving because it is now out of preview. Now it's in general use. And they're implementing other things that actually work well with Azure, let's say. So if you have to do so microservices within Azure, I believe that's what dynamic authorization has something to do with. I'm not sure, or that makes this process a little bit easier, a little bit more appealing to do. I have to get into that in a different video. And overall, it isn't a bad update. I'm sad that the binding enhancements didn't turn out so well, but if they fix it, then it's great. But I don't see this as something crazy. I think that this is more of a quality of life thing for you, if you just want to build something simple and just have those two bindings together. Then that's great. If not, then I'm already used to the old way of doing it, and I find it better because I'm more used to writing, my own logic and code. And really, like, it's up to you whether you want the support to go away faster, whether you have the issue with the libraries, and whether or not you want to have these features. If you don't have a need for these features and you're fine with other stuff, then you are better off with .NET 6, admittedly, just because of the support and just because of the compatibility with other libraries that are older. And that's my analysis of .NET 7. I like it. I'm going to try using it, especially for newer projects. I'm going to make new videos on these, so we'll check them out. And, I'm back, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. And try out .NET 7 for yourself. See if you like it. See if you like any of these new features. Check out check out this guy's video here. And I'll put all this stuff in the description. So you'll have links to all the materials that I've been using. Oh, anyways, just Blazor programming out. Peace.